I'm Thomas Munn with Blue Juice Comics, and you're watching The Experience.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am Jen King from Space Cadets Collection Collection, and you're watching us on The Experience, and this is Talking Shop, where we get to talk a little bit with creators that are having projects that are getting started on Kickstarter or are coming out soon to order through the Diamond catalog or releasing this week. We're trying to get you all the information that we can so that you know what's going on in comic books and don't miss anything. Sorry, I'm in the back warehouse because I was doing some projects and playing with looks like Coca-Cola stuff and Legos today, but let's not get distracted by that stuff because we want to get distracted by comic book stuff. Let's talk to Deniz Camp.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
I feel like you're probably having a little cooler weather than we are. Are you, in fact, in Brooklyn?
Yes, I am in Brooklyn. We were having a unseasonably warm month like a week ago, and then the last couple of days it became frigid. So my chickens are pissed. They're outside. We have 10 chickens in our house and out in our backyard, and so they always get upset when it gets cold.
So, okay, I love it when people raise their own chickens and
Yes.
have plant their own gardens and
Yes.
those kinds of things. Do you guys try to do like supplemental or sustenance farming for your family?
Yes, in the summers when it's possible with our seasons, right? I mean, it's quite cold a lot of the time, so we don't have we in the winters everything lies fallow. But my wife had built a bunch of platforms in our backyard, so we are maximizing the space. And in the summers we do what we can. And chickens, we get eggs all year round, which is lovely.
That's awesome. Okay, so she were talking about that she had put in beds. Is it like the raised bed kind of?
Yes, it's just large platforms that go that are quite high, and then we've put big tubs filled with dirt up there, so very raised. I mean, taller than 3 people. So.
Oh wow! So
yeah.
Up there to
We have stairs. We built we built stairs. So it's intense. My wife only does things intensely, and so we didn't just get 1 or 2 chickens. We insisted. We started with 15, and now we're down to 10. And it's a beautiful little thing to do every day, honestly.
Okay, so was this something that you or she was raised with? Was this a family thing that you guys, or new to you?
No, very new to me, and very new to my wife. But she read about it, and she just decided that this is what she wanted to do. And she's that type of a person where if she decides she's going to do something, she does it. I'm the exact opposite. I just go with the flow. I let things happen. So this was, I say us, but it's really her. I take care of the chickens. She does most of the farming, gardening. I mean,
it's kind of a perfect thing, right? Because if there's something crazy that goes on in the world, I don't know, like a pandemic that shuts things down, you can't get to the grocery store, it's not really such a big deal. You just go in the backyard, grab yourself some eggs.
We absolutely thought about that when everything was happening. We had rice and we had decent supplies, but every day you're getting enough protein just from the chickens, so to survive. So that was very comforting in those early days where we weren't really sure what was going on or what was going to happen.
Oh yeah. So. Okay, so I only know this because I had a very good friend that also raised chickens. Do you have any chickens that make kind of exotic colored eggs? Or
yes.
Are they just, oh, good.
Yes. Yeah. We have Easter. They're called Easter eggers when they lay. So that we have chickens that lay a very dark brown egg. Those are like the olive. There's the lighter brown. Those are the olive eggers, and then there's the Easter eggers, and the Easter eggers lay kind of like a bluish green, aquamarine, I guess you'd call. Yeah.
I love that because she had some that did some pretty light green.
Yeah.
And this was when my kids were really little, and we'd go and do you could volunteer and go read at their schools.
Yeah.
And you like make little holes and blow the egg part out, but I would bring the green egg shell and pass it around and read Green Eggs and Ham and be
Oh,
like,
lovely.
there really are green eggs.
Yes, yes. I'll be honest, I did not really know that eggs laid. I knew that there were green eggs from robins and things, but I didn't know that chickens laid green eggs until I met my wife, and she already had the chickens.
So do you have a lot of space for doing this? Or are you guys using just small amounts of space? And
we have a large amount of space for Brooklyn, not a large amount of space for anywhere else, but they have a lot of space. They have a large coop that's all their own to sleep in, and then they have a mini coop where they can hang out, and then there's a fairly large run. It's more space than most chickens get, but it's not exactly a farm. Yeah.
Do you have any neighbors that also do it and do like trading or anything?
So we don't have any neighbors that do chickens in the direct area, but I do know that people in this neighborhood in Brooklyn do. They're not like next door neighbors. I don't know them, but I've seen somebody carrying a large sack of chicken feed, and you don't just do that for fun. So
Joey says you're his people.
yeah. And I know that there's somebody, because I've seen a couple of them have gotten out. They've escaped, and you can see when one of the chickens escapes. You find a chicken just running through the streets of Crown Heights. It's kind of a sight. It's a surprising sight. So
like everyone's trying to like get to the comic books already.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's coming. Yeah, the chickens. Yeah, I totally understand. It's odd, but it's fun. It's a fun thing to do.
So
I highly recommend chickens, everyone. They're super easy to take care of. You can get, as long as you need 3. You need 3 because otherwise they get depressed often. So that they don't have friends. So if you can handle 3, you can have chickens. You can get all the eggs that you can want. You can give them to your friends. It's the perfect. If you're going over to someone's house, you bring a few eggs. They love it. Not a lot of effort. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that you don't put them in the refrigerator. You just put them on the counter.
Yeah, exactly. You can, and if the pasteurizing process removes a lot of the layers of protection from the eggs for reasons of cleanliness that are understandable. But if you get eggs directly from the chicken, you can keep them out, and you can keep them out for weeks. They last much longer than the ones you buy at the store.
And they're from my experience, especially for ones that are yard chickens that eat a lot of bugs.
Yes,
their yolk is really orange,
rich. Yes, it's exactly
so good.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They have a lot of vegetables, and if you feed them certain herbs and stuff, you can actually taste some changes in the eggs, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Everyone's like, what? Chickens in Brooklyn. All right, so Kirk says that they're from San Francisco, so that they thought that maybe someday.
Yes.
I think it'll become more and more acceptable to do it, honestly. I think because sometimes you're restricted by the city that you're in. They'll just say you cannot have, things like chickens or pigs or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean,
in the city,
each city has their own ordinances. So in Brooklyn, you can have female chickens, hens, but you can't have the roosters because they make a lot of noise and they can get violent.
Yeah, I've got a friend who has a rooster that's about to become food because they're so mean.
Yes, they're really vicious. Yes.
And not to people. He has henpecked one of his hens.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that to each other though. I mean, the pecking order is a real thing. I have to get in. I mean, I think you're not supposed to, but I do get involved because they're like my children, and I'm always like, stop it, don't do that to each other. But they have their own kind of hierarchy, and you can't really do anything about it. It's very sad sometimes.
So do you name them, or is it that since they're going to be dinner at some point, you don't do those things?
We're not going to kill them. They're pets, but I don't name them. I have a few that I've named that are the most affectionate towards me, the ones that like jump on me every time I come in. And then the others, my wife has names for them, but I just know them by their colors.
Well, that's awesome that they're just going to have a house with you until they just are done.
Yeah, it's nice. It's it's halfway between a pet and like a farm animal. I think it's the perfect blend for us.
I would think you guys have less problems with like my friends have problems with like foxes coming in or weasels or
I'll tell you.
raccoons.
So the raccoons, that has been a real battle. I mean, because you can't kill them either, so you cage them and then you have to let them out. They're very vicious. I mean, over the years they've killed probably 10 of our chickens in the most brutal, violent way possible.
They'll just reach in and grab them through the chicken wire and then pull them through the chicken wire in pieces.
We had to raccoon proof their area, and I don't know how they got in, but they started getting in again. It's raccoons. I have a love-hate relationship with them for sure.
I think this is enjoying the pure chicken talk.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like,
thanks, Haas.
There's a place in the world for comic books about
chickens. Yeah, they're actually my Haas, who just said that he lettered a comic that was about chickens. So
perfect.
Yeah, Chicken Devil.
The Chicken Devil, yes. I would not call that about chickens. Honestly, that is about killing things. But okay.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
That was good, and wearing a chicken costume while doing it, which is the best. All right, so let's get down to comic talk. Okay,
absolutely.
So some people might know your work from your work with Bloodshot.
Yes, that's possible. That hasn't come out yet. We have a short coming out for Free Comics Day on May 7th, and I'll be in for all my New York friends. I'll be at a shop around here. I don't think it's been announced yet, but I'll be shop around here signing for that. And the actual series comes out in September. And I have previously at Vault, I had a series called Maxwell's Demons.
That's where I know your name from. That's where it is. Okay.
And yeah, so that one probably is my biggest thing to date. And then I also did a short in Ice Cream Man for the Quarantine Comics anthology that was actually nominated for a Ringo for best single issue. So that's more or less that's my work to date. And then my next series will be Agent of W.O.R.L.D.E at Scout Comics, which I'm very excited about.
All right, let's work to this the apex of that first.
Right.
First, don't go there yet.
Okay.
They want to look it up. There's so much. My whole thing is just like I want to get to get to the maximum part.
Got it.
Maxwell Demons. I remember it coming out, and didn't that come out also as a Free Comic Book Day?
That did.
And then it was definitely not for kids, and it wasn't supposed to be for kids. AIM.
Yeah.
It was a very much the things that I love about comic books, which it got real deep into the weeds about emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And kids might have gotten confused.
Yes. I think they put it as like an all ages thing, and it was because there was a kid because the first issue focused on the character as a child, but every issue he was at a different age, so 2 he was an old man, 3 he was a kid again, 4 he was a teenager, 5 he was an adult. And so it was kind of like it was meant to be, or it was like Lex Luthor or Dr. Doom, the life story of a Lex Luthor or Dr. Doom super evil genius told from his perspective. So you didn't really know that. I mean, I've ruined it now for the audience, but that's fine. You didn't know that that's what it was about until the last issue. Previous to that, it was kind of just a young boy going on adventures, but kind of with a little bit of a dark, I think you would agree, a kind of a dark undertone. And so the reveal at the end was that it was kind of a Dr. Doom, Lex Luthor-ish figure.
I think in this instance, it's okay to spoil the ending because it makes what like the title and the cover of it may not make people go, well, maybe that's my kind of book until they hear that.
Yes.
And then they'll be like, oh, so then the book is about the journey, not about.
Exactly. Right. And I feel that strongly about stuff in general is that, you can't really spoil stuff that's like a good story can't be spoiled. You can say something about it and you can reveal it, but if it's all the journey to get there that matters. So yeah, okay, that's that where it's going. I think actually knowing where it's going kind of gives you another layer of it, which I think is fun.
All right, so for Bloodshot Unleashed, which I don't know why I thought that I'd already seen it out, but I'm thinking of some other title, I'm sure. Where did you go with this character? Because he's kind of like they put him through the ringer with his family,
yes,
and lots of other things. Where
yeah.
is he on Earth and Earthbound?
Yes.
Okay.
He's still Earthbound. This is a pretty grounded series. He's going all across the country. There's been a large prison break of superpowered super soldiers. And Bloodshot is going all around the country into the small towns and kind of like and like ex-urban cities and where they're hiding out, and he's kind of trying to stop them or trying to rehabilitate them. And so it's really about his journey. Each issue is its own self-contained story with him facing a different super soldier, or spent shells as I'm calling them, and also in a different location somewhere in the country, mostly in the Midwest where I'm from to start, and then we'll be going all over the country. And I kind of want to highlight some of the less seen places in the United States. I'm from, like I said, I grew up in Michigan, and you don't see a ton of that right now. So issue 2 takes place in Michigan, issue 1 takes place in Pennsylvania, kind of in ex coal mining places or ex car manufacturing hubs, that have so it's very much a personal story of Bloodshot as he's trying to find purpose for himself, trying to help people and save people, and kind of interacting with people who are suffering in all these different ways, both the soldiers themselves and the people that are suffering from the soldiers, and even the people who are suffering through things that have nothing to do with the super soldiers. And so that's what I'm going for with that one.
So they're in the middle of a run of Harbinger right now.
Yes.
Does it tie into where that's going to leave off at all?
It doesn't tie directly, but we reference a lot of Valiant continuity. I think, the Harbinger mythology is really rich. It's not really, we don't have a ton of space to do that, to play with that in Bloodshot. I really want to make them a Bloodshot focused book, but you see references to Harada Corporation, and you see references to the Vine, and there will be a big guest appearance in the 3rd issue. Another big Valiant character co-stars in that issue.
I'm still in mourning over Toyo. No matter how bad he was, he kind of was that perfect bad guy where felt like he knew what he was doing, and he was a little bit misunderstood, kind of like Magneto gets a bad rap and
absolutely
rap and those kinds of things. So and right now Pete Stanchek is just going, poor guy.
He's been through it. He's going through it. And I think that's, as writers, that's what we have to do to our characters. You got to put them through the ringer, and Bloodshot is going to be in a dark place. I won't lie. He's been through a lot, and he's lost a lot. And I think for me, that's kind of a reflection of, we've all been through a lot the last couple of years. And I wanted to put that in the book, I think, to make it hopefully resonate and a little bit more personal.
Yeah, I think you can tell I'm a huge Valiant fan.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love the mythology. It's super cool, and I'm really excited for the other books that are coming out through them as well.
Me too, so much. All right, so the other question I see that's popped up here is, when you're writing for Bloodshot, do you hear Vin Diesel's voice in your head?
I hear Vin Diesel whispering in my shoulder all the time, not just when I'm writing Bloodshot. Just when I'm going to the post office, when I'm going to the bathroom, when I'm watching TV with my wife, Vin Diesel's there.
Yeah, I got to watch Bloodshot before all the pandemic shut down, which I think is if you were ever going to kill the forward momentum of anything, it was what happened. So I was very happy when they announced that they were going to do a second movie, because if you saw it on the big screen, you realized it was actually really amazing.
Yeah,
movie.
It was a cool. I don't want to ruin it, but there's a cool twist that kind of explains. There's like the beginning. There is a cheesiness to it, and I could see people kind of, if you're streaming, turning it off, and then they're streaming it or something, turning it off, and then not realizing there's actually a twist that explains that cheesiness and kind of, recontextualizes it. And I thought that was actually something pretty clever that not a lot of people. I don't know if a lot of people even got to that point.
Well, I don't know if everyone has truly wrapped their minds around the fact that the movie starts in a non-real place, so we have no idea what's real.
Exactly.
There's no way for us to know.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think it was very intentional, but if you didn't make it through halfway through, you didn't realize that was happening, kind of.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, that's true.
so I think, yeah, I think it suffered for being a street, like maybe something that people watched streaming more than movie theaters, just because, as you said, it was the pandemic. So,
And I also will never be able to hear Psycho Killer ever again without really getting sick to my stomach.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh man. Okay, so let's talk about Agents of W.O.R.L.D.E.
Awesome.
See, I told you I was going to get there.
I never doubted it. I
All
never
right,
doubted
so
it.
it is so the W.O.R.L.D.E stands for something. It's
Yes.
not Agents World. So
It stands for Wartime Organization for Reclamation and Liquidation of Destructive Elements, which is
whoa,
which is a mouthful. It's
I love
so, it's a complicated one. So it sounds complicated. It's really just about having fun. The book is, I guess I'll go into it if it's, I'll explain it.
Yeah, it's time.
Okay. So it follows Agent Philip Blank, who's an agent for the sci-fi spy organization called W.O.R.L.D.E. Every issue is a self-contained story mission as Philip battles time travelers, genetically modified penguins, and ex-spies with metal eyes, all while kind of hiding he's got his own secrets that he's trying to hide from his bosses, one of whom is a super intelligent orangutan. So each issue is a complete story, but across the issues, there's kind of this building dread as kind of his secrets start to come out, or he's afraid, or he has to go to greater and greater lengths to hide those secrets from the people that kind of own him or run him. And it's a super dense story. I mean, every issue is self-contained, and every issue has a ton of ideas and a ton of new characters and a ton of world building. But fundamentally, it's an action book, kind of in the vein of Hard Boiled, Jeff Darrow.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, and so if you look at the art, I mean, the art by our amazing artist Ilya is highly detailed, very, very similar to the work of Darrow or Quietly, or just, it's just unbelievable, to be honest with you. It's just I'm blown away by the work of my collaborators on this, Ilya, and also our colorist Jason W.O.R.L.D.E and our letterer Haas, who's just amazing as well. I hope he's not listening, but he is amazing, and a close friend of mine. And it's a real work of joy. We've been working on it for, I think, 4 years, something like that. It's been a real labor of love for all of us. And I think I've written the script to every issue 5 times by now, and Haas has lettered every issue a couple of times at least. And so, but it's we're really, really proud of it, and I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Okay, so the detailed art style, are you the kind of writer that gives instruction on those details, or do you give a general feeling, mood, and tone of the pages, and then your awesome artist fills in the gaps?
So I think it's a combination. I write really detailed and dense scripts. I give a ton of information about stuff you can include, and things that we can do formally. One of my favorite things to do in comics is to play with the form of comics, and the different ways you can tell a story. And so every issue I try to come up with a few different things that you've hopefully never seen before, or not seen often. But there's no way, I mean, I can't write a page like that. I mean, what you see now on the screen, Ilya, I have a couple of ideas. Ilya is the one who comes up with all of these incredible designs and for all these different robot characters. And there's a ton of like inside jokes in there, and every page has a ton of stuff like that, just details that you couldn't possibly imagine or foresee. And I think that's one of the really cool things about reading the series will be, if you want to you can read it, in 20 minutes like any other comic, or you can really spend hours looking at these pages to see all of the touches and details that the creative team has included. So it's just I think it's a really special book by a bunch of really special creators.
Thank you, Kirk. I'm glad that you've stopped in. All right, so I see this is my observation. Everything feels a little bit pastel. Those little more cool colors.
Yes.
Is that continued through the book, and is that informative to the mood and tone?
I think it definitely the color is a big part of the series. Jason W.O.R.D.E, the colorist, he's a real full partner in the book in every kind of way. And he adds a lot. It's not always the same. The coloring style changes from issue to issue, sometimes from scene to scene, really depending on what we're trying to do emotionally. So yes, we do play with color a lot. Yes, it has a huge impact on how these scenes play out, and I think the experience of reading the book. But no, it is not. They're not all like that. That's just where it's appropriate, it's like that, and where it's appropriate and something else is appropriate. Jason he's fearless about experimenting and trying new things, and it's really, his work on it is really, really special, and also, as you can imagine, very intricate. I mean, the amount of work that he has to put into those pages is mind blowing. So
crazy. So we don't have to wait too long for it to come out, right? That's
June 22nd.
June, okay.
The first issue, and I think there'll be I don't know exactly when, but I believe there'll be ash cans available sometime sooner than that as well, of the first six pages, which I'm kind of obsessed with density, and so the first 6 pages kind of tell their own separate story. You don't really, I mean, each issue is its own separate story, and then within the issues, I try to make each scene kind of valuable on its own, and especially the opening scene, I think, is important, that it kind of tells you everything you need to know about who the character is and what our setup is. And so that ash can, I think, is going to be pretty cool, just because it's kind of its own story, just in 6 pages.
And I'm assuming this is like a limited length series, not
yes.
ongoing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a 4-issue series, the first volume, and then if things go well, we'd like to do another one. But at least 4 issues, and each issue will be satisfying on its own. But if you read them all together, you'll get a kind of a 5th story emerging out of it.
It seems like you've kind of decided on this style amongst your books, and it's a smart move, honestly, where, especially for me as a comic book store owner, I can say, hey, you didn't get number 1 and we can't find a number 1 right now. Well, don't wait.
Exactly.
Wait for number 1. Just get a number 2, because you can jump in here and it's completely fine. It sounds like Bloodshot, and for this one, either way is fine.
Yes, I think it's not every story can be told like that, but where it is possible, I think we should do that it's value added the more you read, not required. I think for me personally, I think the giant, ever expanding, epic thing, it can be done really well, but it's such a huge buy-in, and I think there's a lot of opportunities to disappoint or stumble along the way. And so for me, it's like, if you want to read more, please read more. You'll get more out of it for sure. But every piece of every issue that I turn in, my goal is to make it satisfying on its own in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, awesome. All right. We're in our last minute or so. Do you want to share your social media links with everyone?
Absolutely. My social media, my Twitter it's really just Twitter, I think, that I'm mostly active on. And it's just at my name, Deniz Camp, DENIZCAMP. And then you can find me on Instagram. I'm not quite as active there, at Deniz Camp Comics.
That's perfect. Well, I look forward to it. And everybody out there, this gives you plenty of time to add both the Bloodshot Unleashed and the Agent of W.O.R.L.D.E onto your pull boxes. You got lots of time, but don't let that length of time pass you by and forget to tell your local comic shop, because the better heads up you can give them, the better they like it, because they can get it on their list. It makes their planning much easier.
So important.
There's nothing like getting to your local comic shop on the opening morning of a new release and realizing everyone else heard this book's going to be really good too, and you don't get to read it that day because you didn't tell your comic shop to hold it for you. So
absolutely, that's exactly right. Listen to Jen.
Thank you so much, Deniz. I love talking to you.
Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate you.
Thank you for indulging my talk about.
No, I love it. We'll have to do it again sometime. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Have a great day. Bye, guys.
Bye.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there, hi there, ho there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome everybody to Fat Jack's Comic Crib. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Kumpa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello and welcome to the Black Comics Universe presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in the minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadets.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody, welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I am Jen King, and I'm here in my warehouse talking to you today on Talkin' Shop about cool things that you need to hunt down and add to your reading materials, whether you get them from your local comic shop, or in this case, we're talking to someone that has an awesome crowdfunded book that I'm excited about. Let's talk to Leah Lederman.
Hello.
Hello. I see that we might be almost neighbors. Are you in Kingwood?
No, my cousin is in Kingwood.
Oh, your cousin's in Kingwood.
Yeah, it's her book. It's her story. I'm outside of Indianapolis. I'm in the farmland. So.
Oh, wow. You are farther away.
Yeah, I was like, we are not neighbors.
Neighbors, man. I was gonna say, come on over later. I want to talk to you more. But anyway. So you have got a really amazing book that you put together. Is this something that took a really long time to do? Has it been like your heart's desire for a long time to do this project?
It's a funny question. I'm going to tease my cousin here. Sorry, Katie. Because she's kind of like, oh my gosh, it took so long. It was actually finished after 2 years, which for a memoir is that's like no time at all. That's really not a long time. I've been working on a different memoir for close to 10 years. So they take, they're ice cream scoops of your soul. We did go back over it several times though. So this whole process from when we started to now has probably been 6 years, I would say. So I don't know, like if people say that's a really long time or not. It varies on the project, right? Coordinating with another person, coordinating with each other's lives, babies, children, pandemic. So there was a lot. There was a lot to do, but it's done.
Different than if you're doing this with somebody that's not a loved relative, but did you approach it kind of the same way? Did you just make appointments to have long interviews, or did you get together personally and just plow through lots and lots of talking about the past?
Kind of all of the above. It started with Katie did some recordings, and she just talked, and I transcribed everything she said. And then from that, it was interesting because it was kind of just stream of consciousness for her. She just talked and said, well, this is what I want to cover. These are things that are important to me. And then she just would just kind of go and just talk. And I had transcribed all of it, and then I went through with like a highlighted marker, and I just went over like, here's where she talked about this and this and this, and certain things kept rising to the top. And I was like, okay, so we're going to take all of those and then organize them, and I put a draft together based on that. I would call and ask her questions. We Facebook messaged like crazy. We did get together a couple times. Unfortunately, I think one was a family reunion, but I think the other two were funerals. You know, but yeah, it was just a lot of back and forth where I would randomly be writing and be like, oh, hey, I have this question. I need you to fill this in more, and things like that back and forth. Or she would come up with something. Oh, I forgot about this. So that was the kind of collaboration it was. It was interesting. It was pulling threads. Some of it, like, okay, this is what she wants to say. Okay, this is it, and things like that. So,
okay, so this is. I'm sure that your cousin is an amazing person outside of the events that happened in her life to like make her rise above like circumstances that would be difficult for just any human to overcome. But this event happened in 2010, I believe.
Correct.
And it was it something that happened because of the interaction with the birth of her third child, or they just don't know?
It's the one doctor who was interviewed, because this was all over the news. If you look up her name, you Google Katie Hayes. It's Katie with a Y, Hayes. If you Google her, you'll find her all over the news. She was in People magazine. She was on Anderson Cooper, because no one survives this. It's got like maybe a 4%. I don't even know. It's you know, the doctors were talking about standard of care, and her husband was saying, there is no standard of care. She should be dead. She shouldn't be alive. So, yeah, it happened after her third child was born. She had noticed some stomach pain, and they were just like, yeah, dude, you just had a baby. Like, what do you want to say? She doesn't like to take a lot of medication. She's, you know, Katie, forgive me, you know it's true. She's kind of crunchy. You know, she's very
I identify with her. I don't like it either. So
yeah, and I don't say it to make fun, you know, it's just you know, she's a granola girl, and she did take Tylenol or ibuprofen, and the problem with that was it subdued her fever. So when she's calling the hospital and saying, look, I'm not feeling great, they'd ask if she had a fever, and she said no. And if they would have caught that fever, you know what I mean, like the things you look back on, if they would have caught that fever, they would have said, come on in, and probably would have just been some antibiotics and she'd be fine, because it was a strep A infection, which is essentially the same infection that we get anytime. And there is a strep B that you get the medication for, that they check the baby for, all of that. But this is strep A can turn into necrotizing fasciitis and can do some pretty awful things. So yeah, she had the stomach pain. And finally, after 4 days, she was just like, no. And she walked into the emergency room on her own 2 feet. And she woke up a month later with no arms and no legs. And she was actually in Dallas. They had transferred her to Dallas, where there was a burn unit that they could take care of her flesh. And then they were saying, this is not working. You know, her fingers are turning black. The limbs are dying. And so in order to save her life, they had, I believe it was 3 separate surgeries. They were trying to save as much as they could, but eventually they had to go up to above elbow and above knee, which makes her a class 4 amputee, which is pretty rare. They took like almost 3 gallons of fluid from her body. They removed like most of her inside. It was, you know, pretty awful. I remember when it was happening, her husband kept a blog just updating everyone, because so many people were calling him. And, you know, you would just read it every night, and it kind of became his therapy to get that out there. And, you know, I had a baby not much older than hers. So it was like really hard for me. Like, not only was she my cousin, but it could have happened to anyone. To go back to your question, it's like, was it caused by, or it could have been anyone. The one doctor, that's what I was starting to say. The one doctor said, it's like getting hit by a bus.
Yeah.
like without stepping into traffic, she just got this thing. And, they tried to go back and pinpoint, but what can you do? It
doesn't change. It doesn't change what happened.
Yes, exactly. So she almost says, like, I try not to think about it. This is like you said, this is what it is. This is how I have to operate now. So, yeah, she has been through it, and I like what you said about how she's probably a pretty amazing person otherwise. And a lot of the book, it's not just this whole book about like, oh my gosh, I have these amputations. It talks about her previous life experiences, where she was climbing the Alps with a group. She was a teenager, and she at one point everyone else in the group had gotten their rest, but she was at the end. So she gets up, she gets to the plateau or whatever, and she wants to sit down and kind of catch her breath. And they're like, "Okay, we're moving." And she's like, "What? Like, I didn't get my break." And she kind of said, like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." And they said, "Well, we can't leave you here, and we got to go." So she had to get up and keep moving. She didn't have a choice. And that was, those kinds of experiences. Growing up she grew up in the Midwest, actually. She grew up in Michigan, and she just remembers a time where she had to her car broke down. She had to push her car and through the snow. It sounds like an uphill both ways sort of thing, but really her life was, "Hi, this is Rachel." I knew she'd come on eventually. And Maple was born while we were writing the book, so that was also a little tricky. But yeah, so throughout the book you get these little snapshots of Katie's previous life and things she overcame and things that she felt contributed to, even if she wasn't conscious, her body saying, "No, you've got to come through." So it's pretty amazing, yeah.
So so she woke up in Dallas, and then how long was she there before she got to come home?
Not as long as the doctors wanted her.
She like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, it was really like that. She got moved out of the ICU finally. I'm trying to think. She was April, maybe about 2 months, thereabouts. And she just said, "I'm done." She used to, when her husband and her kids finally got to visit her, and she had, her 2 older kids, and she'd be like, just get me out of here." They're like, "No, you kind of have to be discharged." And the nurses, they really kind of pressed her, like, it's too much to take care of. And she said, "I need to get home. I need to be home where I can function, where I can be with my children." Yeah. I've got kids who are terrified. Her son was 5. Yeah. And so she went home earlier than they would have liked, but she got an in-home nurse to stay with her. And at first they had the bandages that they would have to take the dressings, and it was really painful every time. And she just she would sit there and the baby would sit there. And eventually, as the baby learned to walk, that's when Katie was learning her prosthetics, things like that. So in some ways they kind of learned things together. But yeah, she didn't stay as long as they would have liked. Very, very headstrong, that one.
So, okay. So was she, at that time, like was she staying at home with the kids? Was she a stay-at-home mom? She'd have like a career that was going on also in the background?
Yeah, she actually did. She had a business that she ran from her home. She was a massage therapist. So clearly that wasn't going to work out so much. It's funny that as they're trying to file for disability and things like this, the one woman's like, "Well, is she still going to be able to perform her job?" And her husband's like, "She doesn't have hands." I like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, that's the kind of thing they have been dealing with. I cover that a little bit in the book about disability and the weird catch-22s of that. I didn't want to get too deep into it because that's a rabbit hole and it wasn't the focus, but it needed to be said. How hard it is to get disability care to the people who really need it. So that was another part of it.
So, okay, so move us forward to now. It looks like art is a big part of her life.
Yeah.
I actually already backed the Kickstarter so I could get some original art because I thought it was beautiful.
Yes, it's amazing. Oh, I should have had my art pieces with me. They're downstairs. I think I have 7 of her pieces because you're right. They're just outstanding. That started, let me think for a second. I'm going to bungle the years, so I'm not going to say the years. I was in grad school. All right. Anyway, she moved to Boston. Their whole family moved to Boston. It was really a tough decision because they had this beautiful home that they loved, and they left it in Kingwood. They had her mother go and take care of it. But okay, sorry, she'll be right back.
Bring me a snack.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, I lost her. Okay, so she moved to Boston because she was approved to be the first woman approved for a bilateral arm transplant, and it was out of the Brigham Young Memorial Hospital in Boston. And the impression that they had was when she got the call, they needed to be right there because this is an immediate surgery, right? So they moved up there just waiting for the call. So it was kind of tense. They're in this tiny little apartment. They kind of had to move around a lot because of financials and just because some of the living spaces were not viable for handicap space and things like that. So they're moving all over. They're waiting for the call. At one point, they even had their kids stay with her sister just because it was so much. And it was like, on the one hand, it's always tense. And on the other hand, you're so bored. I think.
Hurry up and wait.
Yes. I think she said something like, you wouldn't think that I could crawl the walls with no arms and no legs. But I was crawling the walls. And so she's really bored. And her mom just sent her some paint. Just like, here, do this. So she did some paintings. And her friend was like, oh my gosh, you have to put these on Facebook. I'm going to buy one. People will buy these. So she started just doing her paints from there and found that it was really an amazing relief. And she said she liked to paint things, she's stuck in winter in a tiny apartment. So she would paint beaches and things where she wanted to be and things she wanted to see. And from there, it's just become, my gosh, if you look on her website, which is katiepaints.com, you will find her paintings and they go all over. Sometimes it's just a color scheme. Sometimes it's flowers or sunsets. She has a lot of range. She does a lot of things in nature. But it's just really amazing what she has done. And she does get a lot of support that way. So, buy it. It's really cool. So,
I like the color composition. Like, she's got a great eye for like the colors and they don't make, a lot of them don't make sense. Like if you look at the colors, you're like, those don't make sense together. But when you see them on a canvas, you're like, they make all the sense in the world.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. You're right. You wouldn't think of it, but Katie did. And she, she just does tremendous things. And she even teaches some of those paint line classes, things like that. So she's really made something of it. And she's used that. She has been able to get a job. She laughs. She's like, I'm a telemarketer, but she can do it. And she has used that to support. She's also received some funding, but she bought a van and got her driver's license, and so she can drive herself places. I mean, isn't that just incredible? Like,
it totally is.
Yeah, she's just amazing. I like just the word unstoppable. She is unstoppable.
You gonna read us a book? I'm ready.
You will. Don't tempt her.
Man, when I was her age, I just consumed books.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how my parents ever afforded the amount of books that I wanted to go through. I think we had actually a library card.
Yeah.
Actually went to the library.
I always think we have these bookshelves filled with books, and then we go to the library every week. And I've actually weighed the bag, and we'll get like 35 pounds of books at a time. That's a lot of books. And so yeah, they're all. I mean, that's what I do, right? At the end of it all, as a parent, they're just watching you, and I'm reading.
So okay, so you as a career, are you in writing already? This wasn't a big departure for you. This is you doing something you love.
Katie's book was actually my first. I was freelance editing. I used to be a teacher. I taught humanities and composition at colleges. And then with the birth of my second child, I couldn't afford daycare and teaching. So I gave it up, but I had started to edit. I started with Dirk Manning, as a matter of fact, and went off from there. And there's my little plug, Dirk.
We're good friends, so I totally.
Yeah, right or wrong, send it back out. And so I was doing the editing, and then I knew she had a book in her. I had talked to her the first time I saw her after this had all happened. I told her then, like, hey, if you ever want to write that book, hey, because I had written, I was in the area, but I sat down and wrote her book. Was the first one. And then we were doing agents. We were trying to shop it out. And that's when I put out the Cafe Macabre in my own short story collection. So I was gaining a lot of knowledge as we went through, which is part of why I've gone through the book again and cleaned things out. It's been such an adventure, but yeah, and now I am still editing, but also I have a much greater focus on writing.
Yeah. Do you have any stories in your heart that you're working on now that you're super excited to do?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the book I mentioned that I've spent about 10 years on, the truth is it's been an idea that I've tinkered with for 10 years, but for 2 years I have been fully dedicated to it. I've been attending a workshop with an award-winning Indiana author and several other incredible authors. And it's just that push, to get it out. So I'm at 50,000 words at this point, that's a book right there. And then I've got several more scenes, but I'm finally at a point after 10 years where I'm like, oh, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it might just be a pinhole, but I'm starting to see it. So that memoir is about growing up with a combat veteran father. And my dad. It's wonderful because my father was a very complicated man, and some of it was the war, other parts were just who he was as a person. But I really started with this idea of discovery. I wanted this to be a discovery process, and I have learned so much about myself. I've dug up so much about my father. He gave me all his military files. My mom has not validated, confirmed certain things. I found him on the Ken Burns documentary when I was watching through that, which is just incredible, and that's a whole chapter in the book is finding your dad. So yeah, that's been a major process. That's the biggest thing I've worked on to date. That's my heart song. So hopefully sometime in the next 5 years that will come out.
Is that going to live as a novel, you think?
No, it's a memoir. It's all true. Everything in there is honest to God truth. Along the way, I've come up with ideas for another memoir and also a novel. So it's like, hey, discovery. I'm discovering ideas and unearthing things. So yeah, it's really been great. I feel like with this book and with this group, I've kind of come into my own as an author and veering away from what I have been doing into what I want to be doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is this your youngest?
This is my youngest. I have 2 older boys, a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old, and this young one is almost 4, and I'll use that same word, unstoppable. It kind of runs in our family.
Oh yeah, don't ever push down a strong-willed girl.
Oh no, she scares me.
It was how my husband got introduced to my dad. My dad told him, keep your thumb on her. She's a strong-willed girl.
Yeah. I think my dad gave my husband a warning as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. parenting, writing, editing, doing all the things, working with Katie, a strong, inspiring woman. You know, I can only be pushed forward, you know, because of who's in my family and what she has overcome.
So the Kickstarter that's running right now, how much longer does it have so that people don't like delay too long and be like, I was going to do that.
Only 3 days left. So we just reached our second stretch goal. I saw it just before I came on. So I'm going to come on and do a quick live video on Facebook when it's over, and, you know, say thank you. And the first stretch goal was a 3x5, or not 3x5, a postcard of one of Katie's prints. And the second stretch goal is now that girl has to sign all of them. And I'm so excited. So the book is funded. So at this point, if you back, it's a pre-order. You're going to get the book as well as the postcard that's signed. And there's all kinds of other goodies on there. There is different size prints. There's actually a print book, which I think is a really cool thing that Katie wanted to do. And then originals and custom artwork. So there's lots of really cool stuff on there.
And then I thought it was a terribly affordable thing to do if you wanted to support a project like this. It was only a $50 tier to get an original, which I'm like so excited to have one.
Well, we wanted to make it attainable, and I basically just used the pricing that she had on her website. But I mean, the customs, the 5x7, yeah, I wanted, you know, spread her artwork into the world, you know, that kind of thing. I've been telling everyone about this project the whole time I've been working on it. Like, hey, did you know? Hey.
All right. So if anyone, we have posted up the Kickstarter link. So if anyone wants to follow that, that's super easy. But if someone wanted to follow you and your work, where's the right social media to follow?
Well, I'm trying to get bigger on Instagram because they're a little easier to work with sometimes than Facebook. So on Instagram, I'm at Leah McPhia. That's Leah is Leah. McPhia is McPheah. That's my mom's nickname for me. And I'm on Twitter at Leah Lederman. That's Lederman. And you can find me on Facebook, same place, through my editing page. And yeah, I think that's it. I have a WordPress, leahlederman.com, with WordPress in there somewhere. Just Google me.
Google. All right, so we look forward to this. Everyone, please don't delay. Go out and just do it now while you're thinking about it, and go support the Kickstarter. It's not a lot of dollars to be able to support something that's just such a heartfelt love letter to someone who really is an amazing human being. And you're an amazing human being for spending the time to like really do it right. So
thank you. I really wanted to. When Katie would talk about putting the book out, I said, you know, Katie, I can capture your voice because we're cousins, and you know, she's wacky and she's over the top, and I said I can do this. And so throughout the book, it's not just like this, oh, my life. I mean, there's a little bit of that because she's allowed to. But it's always like, then she just comes up with this like really sarcastic, awful thing that whips you back into shape. So it's a great read. It's a real roller coaster, and it makes you think.
Perfect. All right, everyone out there, be inspired today and go be supportive of something that's amazing and creative. Thank you so much for your time, Leah. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everybody. The end of Talking Shop for today. Join us again next Monday for more awesomeness, and go out there and support people that are creating the things that you love. Bye, y'all.